For those of you who didn't know, I recently got back from a trip to Minnesota and St. Louis, Missouri. But why and how did we get all the way to Missouri from a state that isn't exactly a next-door neighbor to Minnesota? Well, the answer is we were considering some relatively nearby options for layover cities with a major park in the area that could be used to justify a trip all the way across the country. And with Six Flags St. Louis being the last major park I needed in Missouri and a park that you can easily check off in one day, I figured it would be a nice option. Fortunately, it was and made for a great way to end out our trip. In this video, I will be taking the 8 roller coasters I rode at the park and will stack them up from worst to best. Now, for those of you wondering where the park's 9th coaster is on the list, Screamin' Eagle was not open for us due to construction in the immediate area. It was a bit unfortunate that we had to miss out on such a cool looking vintage wooden coaster, but I suppose there are worse credits we could have missed and that it is a reason to one day return. But with that being said, I suppose we should dive right into the list. These are the top 8 roller coasters at Six Flags St. Louis. Number 8, Ninja. My self-declared worst roller coaster at Six Flags St. Louis is also a ride that many would consider to be one of the worst coasters in the world. Now, do I think it's that bad? No, not really. It isn't rough enough to be considered one of the worst in the world, but it certainly isn't an enjoyable ride with that being said. The layout is filled with jerky turns and inversions and usually won't do anything but cause discomfort. If there is one redeeming quality to this ride, I will say the near miss with the lift chain after the Immelman is genuinely one of the craziest near misses I've ever experienced. But other than that singular wow moment that doesn't even have anything to do with the layout, Ninja is a pretty stupid ride that I can't see staying at the park for too much longer. Number 7, Boomerang. You've all seen boomerangs appear in my countdown videos time and time again, and guess what? There's another one at Six Flags St. Louis. Compared to other rides of its kind, since some run better than others, I'd say it's pretty middle of the road. I can't say it's one of the rougher boomerangs I've been on, but I also can't say it's a smooth one by any stretch of the imagination. It still shakes you up quite a bit and might cause some headbanging as well. But with that being said, these boomerangs do have some solid positive G's that can at least be the one thing to appreciate with these rides. But I won't lie, the more I travel, it's starting to get pretty annoying to have to ride these things all the time all over the world. Number 6, River King Mine Train. After riding Six Flags Over Georgia's subpar mine train 1 week prior, my expectations for yet another Six Flags mine train coaster was pretty low. But much to me and my entire group's surprise, this was one of the stronger mine trains we had ever been on. Opening in 1971, River King Mine Train runs fairly smooth for its age, maintains its speed pretty well, and offers a long ride duration with 3 lift hills. Additionally, the ride ends out in a bang with a drop inside of a tunnel, which is actually a reoccurring theme with other era mine train coasters in the Six Flags chain. Genuinely though, this was a super fun family coaster, enough to where we actually got a re-ride on it midday. Number 5, Pandemonium. While the Vekoma boomerangs can be annoying to have to ride all the time, these Pandemonium clones are a bit of a different story. Built by Gerstlauer and utilizing spinning trains, these rides are very smooth, perfectly disorienting, and have solid overall layouts. Of course, it's not anything I hadn't experienced before, but considering you get a different ride each time because of the spinning, I still get a serious kick out of these things. Pandemonium, again, is a great family roller coaster and should be tolerable for just about anyone in the park. Number 4, American Thunder. Jumping from family to thrill coaster, we now have our first seriously noteworthy coaster in the park. The ride originally opened in 2008 and is one of many GCI wooden coasters I've been on. So how does this one fare to others I've ridden? Unfortunately, it is one of the worst, but that isn't to say it isn't a purely enjoyable ride. My favorite thing about American Thunder is how creatively designed the layout is, hopping over and under its support structure and other pieces of track. This layout formulates a seemingly endless series of airtime hills, but the thing holding this ride back is that the airtime is not very strong. I believe the culprit for this is just the scale of the ride and the lack of strong pacing that keeps it from charging through its layout till the end. Now let me reiterate that although there isn't much of a highlight moment on this ride, I still think it's a great fit for this park. Technically speaking, it is the only modern wooden coaster here and it provides a ride experience that is considerably less intense than something like Boss. If you're a younger thrill seeker attempting to work your way up to some of the bigger coasters here, I think American Thunder is a great attraction for you. Number 3, Batman the Ride. As with Pandemonium, as with Boomerang, and as with Mr. Freeze, man, this park has a lot of clones, you can find Batman the Ride at numerous other Six Flags parks. But I think there's a big misconception that clones equals bad. Just because they've been plopped down at a bunch of parks doesn't mean these Batman clones aren't fantastic. I personally think these are some of the strongest and most intense B&M inverts around, and one back row ride should be enough of a reason to prove this. The positive G-forces, overall pacing, and snappy nature of the inversions on Batman always keep me coming back for more, even if I do get the opportunity to ride this thing all the time at many different parks. I think it makes no sense to bring these things down for being everywhere because they are just so good. Think about it, do you ever see anyone complaining about the RMC Raptor coasters? I would have that same mindset for Batman the Ride next time you're at a Six Flags park, and just recognize the sheer power that comes with their incredibly compact layouts. Number 2, Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast. Since I already went in depth with this ride in my Six Flags Over Texas countdown, which, spoiler alert, is the one other park that you can find this ride at, I'm not going to be going super in depth. But what I will say is I can never get enough of these things. They are absolutely the best premier rides creations out there and are so unfathomably intense. And also, these things are just weird. A backwards launch, inverted top hat, 218-foot vertical spike, and get this, an additional vertical launch on top of that. Then repeat this all in the opposite direction and bam, that is the disorienting blur that is Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast. I'll admit, I was expecting this coaster to be my #1 ride in the park, just like it is at the Over Texas Park. But there was one coaster here that blew my expectations out of the water that overtook this ride in my rankings. Ladies and gentlemen, cue the #1 spot. #1, Boss. I know this ride is one of the more polarizing coasters out there. I myself was convinced that I was either going to love this ride or think it was just okay, but probably the latter. But when I got off for my first time, I was shocked out of proportions just because of how freaking intense this ride is. I honestly think that Boss might have been one of the most aggressive roller coasters, especially of the wooden variety, that I've ever experienced. Part of that is because it's a pretty rough ride, I will not lie. But in my opinion, the rough nature of this coaster adds so much to the overall experience. Just look at the first half, whizzing past trees and the ride's secluded nature in these crazy fast lateral driven low to the ground sections with the out of control feel that's partially thanks to the roughness is incredible. And then you have the entire second half, which builds every bit of the ride's speed up once again and blazes through its course until the final brake run. I'm telling you guys that the pacing is one of the best things about this ride, even if the middle section is a bit duller than the rest of it. Every time I rode Boss, I could not believe how fast it was going at the last helix and double up at the end. While I wouldn't be upset if this ride got the RMC treatment, given it's something that the park could largely benefit from, and because the coaster is incredibly bipolar, I think what it currently has on offer is phenomenal. You guys can quote me on this all you want, but I think Boss is the most underrated wooden coaster I've ever been on. This and Mr. Freeze formulate a pretty impressive top 2 lineup that should absolutely be more than enough of a reason to head out to Six Flags St. Louis. But with that, I hope you all enjoyed today's countdown video. Six Flags St. Louis is a pretty solid Six Flags park with 9 roller coasters, which are mostly all worth the trip out for. But with that said, I'd love to see some comments going for what your favorite rides at Six Flags St. Louis are and if you agree with my list. Also, if you enjoyed the video, I would greatly appreciate a like down below or if you could subscribe to the channel. But with that, I hope you all enjoyed today's content and I'll see you very soon. Bye guys.